Good morning, dear students. Welcome back to my electrochemistry class. Let me continue the class. Okay. So last class I have mentioned about the Faraday's laws of electrolysis. We have seen the two laws of Faraday laws of electrolysis, that is the first law and second law. Now I wish to discuss about the main application of the Faraday's laws of electrolysis. The important application of Faraday's laws of electrolysis are that one, the first law introduces before us a constant called ECE, characteristic of the material, that is ECE, electrochemical equivalent, ECE, that is called electrochemical equivalent, represented by either E or Z. That is a common term that is employed. Usually E or Z is employed for the electrochemical equivalent. That is the mass or amount of the material that is decomposed or deposited by the action of 1 coulomb of electricity. Okay. The amount of the substance or material that is produced by the electric current. Okay, 1 coulomb of electricity is called ECE, that is called the equation M or W is equal to Z into Q or Z into IT, where I is the current strength and T is the time of flow, therefore Q is equal to IT. Okay. So ampere into second is called current in coulomb, and Z is the electrochemical equivalent. When Q is equal to 1 coulomb, that's quantity electricity is represented in terms of coulomb, then W is equal to Z, that we have the definition. Electrochemical equivalent of a material which is characteristic of the material. In the case of silver, it is 0.0000116 gram. So the amount of the material that is deposited by 1 coulomb of electricity is called the electrochemical equivalent. So the first law introduces as the electrochemical equivalent, and the second law introduces another concept called Faraday. The second law, we have the equation, that is W1 is proportional to E1, W2 is proportional to E2, or generally W by E is a constant. Okay. Where that is provided that same quantity of current is employed. That we have seen that the amount of the material that is produced is proportional to the respective chemical equivalent, where E is called equivalent weight or chemical equivalent or gram equivalent weight of the material. So the amount of various material that is produced by the action of electricity is directly proportional to the equivalent weights or chemical equivalent of the material, provided the same quantity of current is employed. Suppose we have 3 different types of electrolytes connected in series so that the same quantity of current is passed through it at the same time. For example, silver nitrate, copper sulfate, or any other, potassium nitrate, etc. And we pass same quantity of current through it when they are connected in series. The amount of copper deposited is proportional to the equivalent mass of copper. The second case, the amount of silver deposited is proportional to the equivalent mass of silver. The third case, the amount of potassium deposited is proportional to the equivalent mass of potassium. That is the equation, that is W1 is nearly proportional to the respective equivalent mass, provided the same quantity of current is employed. So the W by E is a constant, and that if the same quantity of current is employed. Okay, that's very important. If the same quantity of current is employed, W by E, that term is called number of gram equivalent. The term W by E is called number of gram equivalent. Just like W by M is the number of moles. You are familiar with that. W by M, weight divided by molecular mass. Weight divided by molecular mass is the number of moles. Similarly, the weight divided by equivalent mass is number of gram equivalent. So the number of gram equivalent is a constant, provided the quantity of the current is same, constant. Okay, the argument you look, the number of gram equivalent W by E is a constant if constant quantity of current is employed. If constant quantity of electricity. So argument, I'll just tilting the argument. So we are giving another argument that means alternatively, in order to produce W by E is equal to 1 gram equivalent of any material. So W by E is called number of gram equivalent. So in order to produce 1 gram equivalent, 1 gram chemical equivalent, that means W by E is equal to 1. So in order to produce 1 gram equivalent of any material from its solution, a constant quantity of current is required. That constant quantity of current is called Faraday. That is the argument. So, if the constant quantity of current is employed, the number of gram equivalent is a constant, and if the number of gram equivalent W by is 1, that is, in order to produce 1 gram equivalent of any materials from their solution, from the electrolyte, a constant quantity of current is required. Alternatively, a constant quantity of current is required to produce 1 gram equivalent of any material from their solution. That constant quantity of current is called Faraday. Then the quantity of current, constant quantity of current or electricity is called Faraday. So Faraday is defined as that quantity of current required to liberate 1 gram equivalent of any material from a solution, and that is always equal to a value 96,500 coulombs. COULOMB. So that is represented by Faraday. So 1 Faraday is defined as, okay, the second important constant that we obtained from the second law is Faraday. It is defined as that constant quantity of current required to liberate or deposit 1 gram equivalent of any material from their solution, or W by E is equal to 1. Therefore, that constant quantity of current is called introduced by F, and is otherwise called 1 mole of electricity or 1 mole of electron or 1 mole of charge. Otherwise, that is the importance of the Faraday is that it stands for. You know that the unit charge of electricity is coulombs. Okay, coulombs, and it is equal to the charge of the electron. Suppose we have the Avogadro's number of electron or Avogadro's number of charge, then Faraday stands for that. So therefore, Faraday stands for 1 mole of electricity. So Faraday stands for 1 mole of electricity, N into E, N into EF. So Faraday is equal to N into E. N into E is the electric charge, and N is the Avogadro's number, N into E. So remember? So Faraday is otherwise called 1 mole of electricity or 1 mole of electron. Okay, this is the mole, according to mole concept, Faraday is the stand for 1 mole of electron or 1 mole of electricity. That is another application that we have obtained from this Faraday's laws, and it is again used to calculate the equivalent mass of many material. That is W1 by E1 is equal to W2 by E2. So provided by measuring the amount of the material that is produced by passing electricity through them, then at a constant condition, and by knowing W1 and E1, we can calculate E2 provided W2 is not. So simply by measuring electrochemically, by the electrolysis, we can measure the weight of the material W1 and W2, and by knowing E1, it is possible for us to determine the equivalent weight of any material of interest. So the second law helps us to determine the equivalent weight of various material by electrolytic measurement, by measuring the weight of the material that is produced. And another important application, that is the very important application of Faraday's laws of electrolysis is the analytical application. The analytical application or analytical chemistry or electroanalytical technique called analytical techniques, that is called coulometry. That is called electronic coulometry. Coulometry. That is, as we know, according to first law, you know that M is proportional to M or W. M or W is proportional to Q. So, the amount of the material that is produced by the electrolysis by passing current is proportional to the quantity of the current that is passed through electrolysis. Suppose we pass at the appropriate quantity of current for the complete electrolysis of the material for an appreciable length of time. Okay, if the quantity of current, suppose we pass an appropriate quantity of current for an appreciable time to produce the complete decomposition of the material, then we can measure the amount of the material, we can estimate the amount of the material not by weighing the material but by determining the quantity of the current. That is the techniques. Because it is very difficult to measure, estimate or weigh the weight of the material. Instead, we can determine the quantity of the current easily. So, by measuring the quantity of the current, it is possible to estimate the amount of the material that is produced by the electrolysis. That electroanalytical technique is called coulometry. It is called coulometry. So, the important application of Faraday's laws of electrolysis is the electroanalytical techniques called coulometry to estimate the amount of the material that is produced by electrolysis by measuring the quantity of the current by measuring the quantity of the current which affects the deposition, electrolytic deposition. For that we have to be sure that we have passed appropriate quantity of current for the complete decomposition of the material. The equation is that for 1 mole of, you know that 1 mole of material, 1 mole of material is produced or deposited by NF coulombs of electricity. This is the coulombs of electricity, where N is an integer called 1, 2, 3, etc., which stands for the valence of the material. So 1 mole each of the material is produced by the passage of NF coulomb of electricity, where F is the Faraday. So N is the multiple number of Faraday. Depending on the multiple of the Faraday, 1 mole each of material is produced. Okay, that means by the passage of NF coulomb of electricity, 1 mole of each of the material is produced. Where N is a number called 1, 2, 3. So it stands for the valence of the material. So the number of moles of the material produced by the passage of Q quantity of current, Q coulomb of electricity is. Now the equation now become, so the number of moles of the material that is produced by the passage of Q coulombs of current is now become number of moles of any material Na is equal to Q divided by NF. As you know, the number of moles Na is equal to weight of the material divided by molecular mass. Relative molecular mass of material, that is mW by Ma equal to Q by NF. Therefore, WA, the amount of the material produced by the complete electrolysis, Ma into Q divided by NF. This is the principle of coulometry. Where N is the 1, 2, 3, etc. stands for valence of the material. Q is the actual quantity current, and F is the Faraday. Thus, simply by measuring the quantity of the current for complete electrolysis, we can estimate the amount of the material produced by the electrolysis. Rather than weighing the material, we can measure the quantity of the current, and thus this is called by only knowing the quantity of the current in coulomb, we can determine the amount of current material that is produced. That therefore the technique is called coulometry. So next we pass on to, okay, now we are going to the actual study of electrochemistry. Okay, before that you go through the textbook and work out the problem based on Faraday's laws of electrolysis. The first equation, M is equal to Z into IT. So based on this equation, you can ask to calculate the amount of the material produced by the particular current strength in ampere and for so much time or in minute or second, you are given Z. So you can calculate M. This is the case 1. So problem M can be calculated like this. And second is W1 by E1 is equal to W2 by E2. Okay. So based on this equation, you can calculate E2 by knowing W1 by E1, W1, E1 or W2. Or you are asked to calculate W2 provided you are given W1, E1 and E2. So this type of problem you work out using your textbook. So now I am going to discuss about the electrolytic conductance. Okay. Electrolytic conductance. What is conductance? All of you know. Conductance of a material is a measure of the easiness by which it passes electricity through it. Once again, okay, I am repeating. The conductance G is defined as the easiness by which a material can pass electricity through it. It is the measure of the easiness by which a material can pass electricity through it, and therefore it is defined as the reciprocal of the resistance. So G is defined as the reciprocal of resistance, that is equal to 1 by R, that is ohm inverse. So it is the unit is ohm inverse. So the conductance G is equal to 1 by R ohm inverse, and is defined as the reciprocal of the resistance and is the measure of the easiness of the passage of electricity through the material. When the discussion of our case, we are dealing with not that is a metallic conductor. We are interested in the electrolytic conductor, and electrolytic conductor in most cases, or our interest are an aqueous solution of an electrolyte taken in a particular vessel called conductivity cell. So again, in dealing with the electrolytic conductors, we are measuring the conductance of an aqueous solution of an electrolytic substance, aqueous solution of salt, aqueous solution of base, or aqueous solution of acid, or aqueous solution of any such ionic compound taken in a particular cell called a conductivity cell, which can enclose a definitive volume VCC of the solution, okay, which is defined by or determined by the geometry of the electrode assembly in the cell. That electrode assembly is characterized by the distance between the two electrode assembly, that is called L, and the area cross section of the electrode, that is called E. That is already fixed, always fixed. Therefore, the term L, that is, this is assembly, this suppose this is a cell or a sister as vessel, consider a cell in which two electrodes are introduced, two electrode assembly are there, one, so another like this. And they are separated at a distance. The distance between the electrode is a fixed distance, that is called L. The distance between the two electrodes are represented by the distance L, that is fixed. And the area cross section of any electrode assembly, that is also fixed. So this comes by L centimeter, the distance between the two electrodes, and A, the area cross section, S square centimeter of any electrode medium. Therefore, we have an electrolytic solution. Electrolytic conductance is an aqueous solution of an electrolyte having a definitive volume V enclosed in a cell called conductivity cell, whose volume is determined by the dimension L and A of the electrode assembly, which is always fixed for a particular conductance measurement. Okay. Thus, we have with us an electrolytic solution. So, the conductance of an electrolytic solution, actually you know that it is arising from the movement or the free, all the ion furnished by, the conductance of an electrolytic solution arise from movement of all the ions produced by the from the electrolyte solution at a given concentration. That is also very important. So the conductance of an electrolyte in the solution is due to all the ion furnished by a given concentration of the electrolyte in a solution. Okay, it is arise from the migration of all the ions, positive ions and negative ion, furnished by the electrolytic column of the solution at a particular concentration. So the conductivity of an electrolyte arises due to the migration of the free ion presented by the electrolytic solution. That is why it is called ionic conductance. Okay. As already you know that when we apply the Ohm's law, we have the Ohm's law when we are applying to metallic conductor. All of you know that R, then the resistance of the conductor is proportional to the length L of the conductor and inversely proportional to the area cross section A of the conductor. The case of metallic conductor. Or R is equal to a constant rho into L by A, where the constant rho is called specific resistance. Okay. All of you know about the Ohm's law. When we are dealing with an electrolytic conductor, we have an electrolytic column of the solution. So the resistance of an electrolytic column of the solution R is proportional to the distance between the L, the distance between the electrode assembly L directly to the length of the electrolytic column of the solution, and inversely proportional to the area cross section of the electrode. Okay, thus R is proportional to L by A for an electrolytic column of the solution. Or R is equal to a constant rho into L by A for the electrolytic column of the solution. Then we are taking the reciprocal. You take the reciprocal, therefore 1 by R is equal to 1 by rho by L by A. The equation. Where 1 by R is called conductance. Therefore, we have conductance. Okay, G is equal to conductance. G is equal to 1 by rho. 1 by rho is the specific conductance. 1 by rho is the specific resistance, and 1 by rho is the specific conductance. So, say conductance divided by L by A. Okay, that is, we have conductance is equal to specific conductance by, so say conductance, that is G, conductance G is equal to specific conductance represented by the term letter kappa divided by L by A, that is called a cell constant. For a given electrode measurement, conducting measurement, for a given conductivity measurement, the electrode assembly is fixed so that the length L of the column and the area cross section of the column is fixed. Therefore, L by A as such is a constant. So you remember, the L by A is a constant. For a given conductance measurement using a given electrode assembly, for a given, you have to understand that, follow that concept. For a given conducting measurement, the electrode assembly is fixed so that the length L of the column and area cross section A of the column is already fixed, so that L by is a constant. That constant is called a cell constant. That is the argument. Since L by is a constant called cell constant, we have the equation conductance is equal to specific conductance by cell constant. Conductance is equal to specific conductance by cell constant. That is, conductance is equal to specific conductance conductance, so that is called conductivity, divided by cell constant. Or cross multiplication, therefore we have the specific conductance. Kappa is equal to conductance into cell constant. Conductance into cell constant. So you have to remember this equation. The specific conductance of an electrolytic column of the solution is equal to its conductance multiplied by cell constant. That is, kappa is equal to G into L by E. Then we have to remember what is that specific conductance. Okay, when L by A is equal to 1, that is the distance between the electrode assembly is L is equal to 1 centimeter, and area cross section of the electrode is 1 square centimeter. So that L by A is equal to 1, then kappa is equal to G. Therefore, specific conductance of an electrolyte is defined as the conductance of the electrolyte having unit length, conductance of the electrolyte column of the solution, or unit length and unit area cross section. Okay, that is the thing. So the specific conductance of an electrolyte is defined as the conductance of the electrolytic column of the solution having unit length and unit area cross section, or otherwise it is the conductance offered by 1 cc of the solution. Okay, when L by A become 1 means that we have an electrolytic column of the solution of 1 centimeter length and 1 centimeter area cross section, that means we have 1 cc volume of the solution. So the alternatively the specific conductance of an electrolyte is defined as the conductance of a 1 cc solution, or a unit volume of the solution. So it is the conductivity presented by a 1 cc solution, or unit volume of the solution is identified as specific conductance. So that's the definition. So specific conductance of a solution is defined as the conductance of a 1 cc solution. Okay, then we have to pass on to the unit of specific conductance. Specific conductance, that is equal to conductance into cell constant. Conductance into cell constant. The unit of conductance is ohm raised to -1, and the cell constant is centimeter divided by centimeter square. That is equal to ohm inverse centimeter inverse. So the CGS unit of specific conductance is ohm inverse centimeter inverse, and corresponding SI. SI is Siemens. Ohm inverse is Siemens meter raised to -1. Siemens meter raised to -1 is the unit of specific conductance in the SI system, and is the ohm inverse centimeter inverse in the CGS system. The next is, okay, so you remember this equation. So the conductance, the conductance of a 1 cc electrolyte solution, okay, or it is the conductance produced by a electrolyte solution of 1 cc or unit volume, and that is always equal conductance into cell constant. Okay, then we have to pass on to, we have with us an electrolytic solution. We have always with us an electrolytic solution. As it is a solution, and all of you know that we have to measure the conductivity of the solution at different concentration of the solution, or we have to prepare different concentration of the electrolyte. We have to prepare the electrolyte at a different concentration, and we have to measure the conductance of the solution at each concentration. Therefore, we should have a conductance term that is connected to the concentration of the solution. Again, since we are dealing with the solution of the electrolyte, usually the aqueous solution of the salt solution or electrolyte solution, we should have a term, conductance term, that should be connected to the concentration of the solution, because it is convenient to represent the conductance in terms of the concentration, because one thing is that we have to express the conductance of the solution at different concentration, and second is that as the passage of the current there occurs a definite change in the concentration of solution due to the electrolysis. So it is better to represent, or we have to represent, customary, mandatory, we have to represent the conductance of an electrolytic solution in terms of the concentration. There are two such concentration terms, terms are there, and corresponding to the two concentration terms, we have two conductance terms. So corresponding to two different concentration terms, we have two conductance terms in electrochemistry. One is lambda n, called equivalent conductance or equivalent conductivity, and the second is lambda m, that is called molar conductivity. As you know that equivalent conductivity is the conductance term that is connected to, related to normality as the concentration. So that is lambda n is the equivalent conductivity, is the conductivity terms of the electrolyte connected to the concentration normality of the solution, while the molar conductivity lambda m is the conductivity term that is connected to the concentration molarity of the solution, that is implied. That's very simple. So that term that is connected to the molarity is called molar conductivity, and that term that connected to the concentration normality is called equivalent conductivity. Okay? So, and going to the definition. That is, equivalent conductivity lambda n is defined as the product of specific conductivity, conductance and volume of the solution Cc containing 1 gram of the electrolyte, containing 1 gram equivalent of the electrolyte. That's the definition. So, equivalent conductivity of an electrolytic solution is defined as the product of specific conductance and the volume of the solution Cc containing 1 gram equivalent of the electrolyte. Okay. Suppose n is the normality of the solution. N is the normality of the solution. Okay, you know the normal. One normal point, one normal point, not one normal, etc. Suppose this is the measure of the number of gram equivalent per liter or per 1000 cc of the solution. Normality is the number of gram equivalent per 1000 cc of the solution. So n is that term, is the normality, that is the number of gram equivalent per 1000 cc of the solution. Then now V become specific conductance kappa into volume 1000 by n. So we have lambda n is equal to kappa into 1000 by n, where n is the normality of the solution. Therefore the unit is, kappa is unit ohm raised to -1 centimeter inverse into 1000 cc centimeters cube divided by equivalent. Therefore the unit is ohm raised to -1 centimeter square equivalent raised to -1. So the unit of equivalent conductivity is ohm raised to -1 centimeter square equivalent raised to -1. In the CGS system and the SI system, it is Siemens meter square equivalent raised to -1. That's all. So what you remember is that another important physical aspect of equivalent conductivity is that equivalent conductivity is the conductivity of one normal solution, or it is the conductivity of all the ion produced by 1 gram equivalent of the electrolyte. So equivalent conductivity of an electrolyte is defined as the conductivity of all the ions furnished by 1 gram equivalent of the electrolyte present in the solution. Okay. The next is molar conductivity lambda m. Similarly, the molar conductivity lambda m is defined as the product of specific conductivity and the volume of the solution in Cc containing 1 mole of the electrolyte. One mole of the electrolyte. That's the difference. The former case is one equivalent of the electrolyte. In this case, V is the volume of the solution in Cc containing 1 mole of the electrolyte. So, molar conductivity is defined as the product of specific conductivity and the volume of the solution Cc containing 1 mole of the electrolyte. Suppose M is the molarity. M is the molarity. As you know, molarity is the number of gram moles or number of moles present in 1000 cc of the solution. Number of moles per liter. Suppose M is the molarity of the solution. M is the number of moles per liter or 1000 cc. 1000 cc of the solution. Suppose you know that M is the molarity, stands for the number of moles per liter or number of moles per 1000 cc of the solution. Then we have lambda M is equal to specific conductance into 1000 by M. Where M is the molarity. Okay. Alternatively, the molar conductivity is defined as the conductance of all the ion furnished by the solution of 1 mole of the electrolyte. Okay. Suppose you have an electrolyte in which 1 mole of the electrolyte is dissolved and the whole the ion furnished by the 1 mole of the electrolyte as a conductance, that conductance is the molar conductivity. Therefore, molar conductivity is defined as the conductivity of all the ions furnished by 1 mole of the electrolyte in their solution. And the unit is lambda m unit kappa ohm raised to -1 centimeter inverse into centimeter cube divided by mole. Therefore, that is equal to ohm raised to ohm inverse centimeter square mole inverse. So that is the unit of molar conductivity. Ohm inverse centimeter square mole inverse. Or that is equal to Siemens meter square mole inverse. Siemens meter square mole inverse, the unit of molar conductivity in the size system. So, according to modern term, it is the IUPAC authorizes molar conductivity is the common term that is usually mentioned by dealing with the electrolytic conductance of the electrolyte solution. While dealing with the conductance of the electrolyte solution, we are used to consider molar conductivity in terms of molarity rather than lambda n in terms of normality, because IUPAC has authorized molarity as a standard concentration term. Therefore, correspondingly, we have the conductance at lambda m. So, in all our discussion, we are using the molar conductivity term. Okay. The molar conductivity and equivalent conductivity are the same, provided the normality and molarity are the same. Suppose they are different, they are different. Okay, depending. Then we have to express the variation. How does the molar conductivity of a solution, electrolyte solution, vary with the concentration? I have already mentioned. We have with us an aqueous solution of the electrolyte to measure whose conductance we want to measure, and the conductance of the solution surely changes with the concentration of the solution, how it varies. So that aspect is to be discussed. Okay. At a given concentration, an electrolyte solution shows a conductance that is almost equivalent to the number of the ion presented by the solution. That is the thing. That is the general theory. That I am going to the theory of the electrolyte later. That is the first theory, is the Arrhenius theory. That is the basic theory of electrolytic conductance. So we already mentioned that the electrolytic conductance are otherwise called ionic conductors because the conductance of the electrolyte conductors arise due to the movement of the free ion, cation and anion present in the solution. So at a given concentration of the electrolyte solution, we are preparing an electrolyte solution at a given concentration, that is called initial concentration. Okay. At that initial concentration or prepared concentration, the electrolyte solution furnishes a definite number of ions in the solution depending on the concentration. And that ions are responsible for the conductance of the electrolyte. So at a given concentration, an electrolyte solution exhibits a conductance depending on the number of free ions present in the solution furnished by the solution. Okay. Then, when we are increasing the dilution volume of the solution by diluting the solution, or we are decreasing the concentration of the solution. Okay. We are decreasing the concentration of the solution by the process called dilution, or by addition of more and more water into it. The number of ions increases generally. The number of ions generally increases. Okay. Number of free ions generally increases. That is the degree of dissociation increases. The more and more ions are produced by the dissociation of the electrolyte. Therefore, the conductivity generally increases with the increase of dilution or decrease of the concentration. That aspect or that fact is to be studied by you. At a given concentration, an electrolytic conductance exhibits a conductance depending on the number of free ions furnished by the electrolytic solution. As the concentration of the solution is decreased by the addition of more water, that is by increasing the dilution, the number of free ions increases due to the dissociation of the electrolyte. Therefore, the conductance, or should be molar conductivity of the electrolyte solution gradually increases with the increase of dilution or with the decrease of concentration. Okay, that's it. The molar conductivity or of the solution of electrolyte solution increases with the increase of dilution. Increase of dilution means decrease of concentration. Decrease of concentration. Okay. Increase of dilution means we are increasing the volume. Diluting, increasing the volume. That's the question. So by increasing the volume, or by increasing dilution, or by decreasing the concentration, the molar conductivity going on increases. How much extent it goes? It is going on increases and finally reaches a maximum limiting value, constant value, that reaches at the stage of infinite dilution. So at the stage of infinite dilution, that is the maximum dilution. Okay, that's the thing. The conductance reaches lambda m. The conductance reaches a maximum limiting value. Maximum limiting value for any electrolyte. Conductance reaches a maximum limiting value for any electrolyte at the extreme dilution or infinite dilution. That is called lambda m infinity or lambda m 0. That is called lambda m infinity or lambda m 0. That is the molar conductivity at infinite dilution or molar conductivity at zero concentration. That is the issue. So all the electrolytes, in the case of all the electrolytes, its conductivity, molar conductivity generally increases with the dilution. Increase with the dilution may decrease the concentration or increase the volume. So that because of the more and more free ions are produced. Okay, generally I am saying. And finally at the stage of infinite dilution, the molar conductivity reaches a maximum and limiting value that is called a lambda 0m or lambda infinity m. That's the situation. This is the variation and can be graphically represented like this. Simply, graphically it can be represented like this. That is, if we plot lambda m as the y-axis against the concentration as the z-axis, sorry, x-axis, this concentration increases, this is the volume increases. So we have a curve like this. A higher concentration, that is low value of the conductance. So as the conductance, the volume increases or concentration decreases, it reaches a maximum limiting value there. Okay, maybe like this. Okay, this may be like this. So this is the variation. This is increasing body. This is a low volume or low, that is higher volume, low concentration. As we are showing, this is C. C going on increases in this month. So as the concentration increases, there is a low conductance. As the concentration decreases, as the dilution increases, the value gradually increases and finally it reaches a limiting value. And this limiting value is called a lambda 0m or lambda 0m or lambda infinity m. That is called lambda infinity m or lambda 0m infinite dilution, molar conductivity infinite dilution. Okay. That's the situation. So let's try to classify electrolytes based on the behavior or the variation of the molar conductivity with the dilution. For that, we have to pass on to the theory. Anyway, I wish to say that depending on the variation of the molar conductivity with the dilution or with the concentration, we can classify electrolyte generally into two classes. One is the strong electrolyte and other is the weak electrolyte. So electrolytes can be generally classified into two. A weak electrolyte and a strong electrolyte depending on the variation or the molar conductivity with the dilution. Strong electrolyte and second is weak electrolyte. Okay. So electrolytes are generally classified into two. So depending on the behavior or the variation of the molar conductivity with the dilution, we can classify the electrolyte into two categories. One is a strong electrolyte and other is a weak electrolyte. Those electrolytes which already have very high value of the molar conductivity at initial concentration and they have only a gradual slow increase in their conductance with the dilution and it reaches a maximum value at infinite dilution are called strong electrolytes. Okay, those electrolytes which have very high value of conductance even at initial concentration. So we have like this. They have very high value of the that is molar conductance at initially, and as the concentration decreases or dilution increases, the value slowly increases and it reaches a steady value like this. This situation is the case of a strong electrolyte. So those electrolytes which have very high conductance even at initial concentration and there is a gradual increase in their conductance with the dilution and it reaches a steady value at infinite dilution is called strong electrolyte. All the strong acid, all the strong bases and all the salts comes under this category. Okay, all the strong acid HCl, NaCl, KCl, HCl, sulfuric acid, HNO3, etc. and all the strong base alkali, KH, NaOH and all the salts comes under the category called strong electrolyte. What the weak electrolyte? Those electrolytes which have low value of the conductance at the initial concentration and there is a sudden increase in their conductance with the dilution. There is a sudden or rapid increase in their conductance with the dilution and we cannot say at what stage it attains a constant value is uncertain are called weak electrolyte. This line. So those electrolytes which have a low value of the conductance initially, and as dilution increases, there is a rapid increase their conductance with the dilution, and we cannot say at what stage it reaches a maximum limiting value. That electrolytes are called weak electrolyte. All the weak acid and all the weak bases comes under this category. All the weak acid, organic acid, acetic acid, benzoic acid, etc., and all weak base, ammonium hydroxide, there is aniline, or base, organic base like aniline. Primary elements comes under this category, aluminum hydroxide. And the reason is that the case of strong electrolyte, they are fully ionized. Case of strong electrolyte, they are fully ionized even at the initial concentration, and the maximum number of ions are free ions are present in their solution, and hence they have the higher conductivity. But in the case of a weak electrolyte, they are only purely ionized. They are only feebly ionized at the initial concentration and have the low value of conductance at higher concentration. So as the dilution increases, more and more ion get ionizes, so that the number of ion increases, that tremendously, thereby there is a rapid increase there conductance with the dilution. That's all other theory, that explanation I will discuss in connection with the theory. Okay, so that is the thing. So strong electrolyte, example strong acid, strong base, and also weak electrolyte or weak base, weak acid, etc. Graph, this is a graph. Strong electrolyte, gradual and higher value initially, going on, increases gradually with the increase of dilution, reaches a limiting value at infinite dilution. So we can determine graphically lambda infinity or lambda 0 m for a strong electrolyte. The case of weak electrolyte is a low value at higher concentration. As the dilution increases, there is a rapid increase their value, lambda m value, and going on increases, and we cannot say at what stage it reaches lambda infinity. So we cannot determine graphically the lambda infinity m or lambda 0 m of a weak electrolyte. That aspect will be also. So how it is determined, that will be discussed later in associated with Collas's law. So we can use here, we can graphically determine lambda infinity m or lambda 0 m of a strong electrolyte by graphical method. But we cannot determine graphically the lambda infinity or lambda 0 m of a weak electrolyte. So for that we have to use a theoretical rule, law called Collas's law. I will discuss that aspect later. So thank you very much for listening to my class. For time being, I am winded to the class. Okay, thank you.